broke the curtain.
What's that?
Broke the curtain. They knocked it down.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. See the curtain?
Oh, okay.
They just tore it down.
Yeah. It's just curtain. Wow.
People outside that have it under control. We're not going to, y'all are the leaders of this. Y'all got to get this shit under control. And it's clear you don't got it. They're all invested. Shareholders. Shareholders. Where are you from? What high school? What high school you go to? But you live in Maternal, but you went to the Tolis? I'm gonna poke some holes in there. Keep talking to me. Because I'm from Oak Park. And I'm from Sacramento, bruh. And I see you coming with some folks out of town. And I ain't never seen y'all in community before, bruh. We can have that conversation offline. Because all these folks is watching. But I'm just letting you know. I see you, bruh. I see you, bruh.
Your reaction, y'all. When you got it.
Yeah.
I don't see y'all when the camera show up. Passing out business cards. Community with us, man. Y'all don't know nothing about this, man. Y'all not from this. It ain't even Vegas. It's Sacramento strong. You can't come from anywhere outside of Sacramento and tell us how to run Sacramento. I said from Sacramento. Sacramento, you from that? You misunderstand. All Sacramento gotta be on one accord. All Sacramento gotta be on one accord. All Sacramento. We gotta be on one. Let them work things out.
here tonight, I really want to acknowledge what just occurred. What just occurred in this room was you expressed the level of trauma that you've been experiencing. We've expressed the level of trauma that we've been experiencing here by the militarized display from our law enforcement. As a result of that, you gave us an opportunity to talk directly to the law enforcement and hear some hearts up here. And I asked them on our behalf would they be willing to stand away.
Back in or not?
No problem. But what we were able to display tonight was a shift in their softening their stance and being willing to drop down so that we can all be heard. Several of us are in this room and several outside of this room still want to make comments on our behalf. And what we just created was a shift, and that's a step. And we did that. And they are willing to do that. And so let's continue to come to the mic and get our comments up like we came here for, okay? It's a start. It's a start. So who is going to speak next? Can we get our council? Can we get our seats for our council back? Let's take our seats. Let's take our seats for our council back. So there are people standing in the rain. There are people standing in the rain who want to do the thing. And they're just assuming that we are right here. But they're standing in the rain.
We want to hear from everybody. We want to hear from every member of the public who came out tonight.
Please call the next person.
We just ask, please, that you try to let everyone speak, and then when you're done, you please either return to your seat or you're welcome to stay and or leave. We can't have what just happened happen again. And otherwise, we're okay. Good, let's go. Okay? Next.
And next speaker is
Mr. Clark.
James Fago
Yes,
Clark,
Mr.
and then
Clark.
Larry Bell.
Yes.
So, first thing, if you send your officers out here with batons drawn and everything towards the public for expressing their outrage, you can expect it to get even louder. Every time they show up in riot gear, it instigates people's outrage and their trauma, and things are going to become more explosive every single time. It's just an oppressive move that does nothing to help. Secondly, I don't even know where to go with the secondly part. And, you know, it's hard to hear those radios when you're in the moment, but when you're watching those live feeds, you can hear the police radios. You can hear their chatter at some points. And you know what they're talking about? How to kettle. That's what it's called, kettling the protesters. That's a legal term, by the way. It's highly illegal for police to kettle protesters to make arrests. But that's what they did intentionally last night. When the protesters returned to 51st Street by their cars, getting ready to go home, that's when the police decided to blockade the area where the people were parked and not give them access to where they were parked, and then continue to push them down 51st. You know, this is all caught on different live feeds. There were several different live feeds going last night. So these officers that seem to be praised all the time intentionally went out of their way to keep people from being able to return to their cars to return home at the end of the protest, and then actively colluded to guide and entrap these protesters on that bridge. There's audio clippets just from what I could hear on the live feeds. And Norm Leong was in charge of that yesterday. He was the commanding officer there. He was also the commanding officer where people were being released. I would like to make sure that he has repercussions for what he just did to everybody. And Howard Chan, the police are your responsibility. They listen to you. You give the orders to the police at the discretion of the city council. So the whole city council is just as guilty. But Chan, this is on you. Everything from Stephon Clark and everything on is on you,
Clark.
Your shoulders.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Justice.
Our next speaker is Larry Bell, then David Andre, and then Joan Marie. Mr. Bell here? I don't see Mr. Bell. David Andre, then Joan Marie, and Dietrich Lockhart.
I'd like to ask City Council to post the rules of engagement. Last night, I saw the grenade launchers being aimed at myself and other people within 3 feet. We talked about that at previous City Council meetings when the authorization to buy the grenade launchers. And we warned you guys without proper training that would happen. 3 feet from people, the grenade launchers were being pointed. Okay, that's a deadly weapon at 3 feet. What's the rules of engagement? City Council, we need to post that for peaceful protesters. Or more people get killed. Please.
Next speaker is Joan Marie, then Dietrich Lockhart, then Reverend Shane Harris.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say just first that I am a Compassion Ambassador for Compassion Sacramento. And our city is uncomfortable right now, but it's not uncomfortable enough. To become the compassionate city that so many Sacramentans had envisioned, we work every day, and we need to step further away from our comfort zones into a discomfort of someone else's perspective, someone else's story, and someone else's pain. Last September, when the aspirational project Compassion Sacramento was launched in Oak Park, the 8 districts' Compassionate Sacramento ambassadors have begun meeting with the district's council members and community stakeholders. These ambassadors, Tanya Beverly, Russell Jonigan, Pauline Haynes, Sonny Wallabali, Melissa Hanson, Melina Penny Washington, Joan Marie, Laura Hanson, and myself are focused on priority issues in their district, from homelessness to human trafficking to parent after-school participation to the LGBT safety. We've begun to work on the behalf of the vision to have a more compassionate city. Right now, we are putting together a schedule for community meetings to learn what a compassionate city means to the residents of each district in the neighborhoods. The more we gather around the idea of what a compassionate city looks like, the more common ground we can find with moving together towards a healthier, safer, and more equitable communities. We've begun meeting with our city's police captains, the community organizations, and the neighborhood associations to support the desire to gain understanding and alleviate the pain that we inflict on each other through fear and disconnection. The vision of the compassionate city belongs to all of us, and to work to bring it forward, it belongs to all of us to do it too. So I just want to just speak about the fact that Sacramento right now is a compassionate city, and in this moment, even in this room, it's time to show compassion for everyone and hear from everyone's point of view. So that's all I ask of you guys is, like, when you're hearing everyone tonight, make sure that you're showing the compassion, because we've all already signed the resolution that that's what Sacramento is all about. That's it.
Our next speaker is Dietrich Lockhart, then Reverend Shane Harris, then Gregory Galvanovich. Dietrich here? Oh, thank you. Reverend Shane Harris, Gregory Galvanovich.
Reverend Harris is here.
Thank you, Reverend Harris.
Hello, Mayor Steinberg. I'm Reverend Brian Michael Livingston, the Sacramento chapter president of the People's Alliance for Justice. I want to thank all of my young brothers and sisters that stand with me and that stand before you today to show their hearts to you. The only thing that was missing from yesterday's excessive use of force from the Sacramento Police Department was a burning cross and white sheets. You all entrapped these people and used excessive force, and we are outraged. And we will not rest until you all know what justice looks like. Mayor Steinberg, the next time that you know something like that is going on in your city, get out of your bed and come and stand with your people. Come and stand with your people. I'm going to bring now our national president up to speak. He's been with the family of Stephon Clark since the inception of the matter, and he's going to speak and address you all. I give you all our national president of the People's Alliance for Justice, Reverend Shane Harris.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to begin by saying that we are here a year later, a year after the killing of Stephon Clark. I've been standing with the family since the beginning, and I made a commitment to them. I want to say that a year ago, where we were, we are back here again. Why are we back here again? Because last night, over 80 people were peacefully protesting, and I was out there with them to know it. And while 80 people plus me, which makes it 81, were arrested and taken into detainment, enough is enough. The plan of aggression by the Sacramento Police Department didn't start yesterday. It started weeks ago when you were trying to put community leaders and preachers in your pocket to sell them out to their community to compress the movement. But I want you to know today that not only locally, nationally, we are ready to mobilize, because local prosecutors investigating local police is a conflict of interest, and Schubert knows it. I may not be here in Sacramento, but we have our leaders here. And last year you ran me out. But I want you to know I can come anytime I want now, because I run my own organization. You can't call nobody to shut me down. I come to Sacramento anytime I want. There's three things that we want. Three things that the family of Stephon Clark wants. One, we want you to fire Chief Hahn, who we called last night and couldn't get a hold of you, but you say you want to build trust with the community, but you won't trust the leaders who are reaching out to you. Tell me how that works. Chief Hahn, we recommend that you fire Sacramento police officers Murder Carol Robinette, who killed Stephon Clark last year. I call on City Manager Howard Chan to approve and execute this recommendation immediately. 2, I call on the mayor and the council give full policy review and subpoena and disciplinary recommendations powers to the SAC Police Commission. And let me finish. And finally, I call on the SAC City Council and the Mayor Steinberg to adopt AB 392 because police officers that use excessive force, and we're dealing with DAs who are investigating their own people who they work with.
Thank you, Reverend.
Enough is enough.
Please.
California needs to set a precedent, and Sacramento needs to lead it.
Complete.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gregory Glavanovich, Janelle Hope, and Ryan McClinton.
Gregory
Is Mr. Glavanovich here? No. Janelle Hope, then Ryan McClinton.
Ryan.
Is Janelle Hope here? Thank you. Following Janelle is Ryan McClinton.
Please.
Good afternoon, City Council. I'm sorry I was out last night with my people and my voice is gone. My body is aching. My back is hurting. We marched for 3 hours peacefully. We stayed out at Cal Expo. Wait, I'm going to get there. Till 3 a.m. And where were you all? So if my voice shakes a little bit, if I can barely stand up here, please note that these were the conditions that many of us were subjected to yesterday and last night and through the early hours of this morning, and still had to get up and go to work and fight for our freedom again and be here today. So bear with me. You all, we are a traumatized community. You all had 1 year to conduct a fair investigation, 1 year to reimagine policing and how you would conduct yourselves when you interact with the community, 1 year to figure out better tactics and strategies when meeting with protesters. But somehow we did even worse than we did last year. Somehow you topped yourselves. You pulled out batons less than 10 minutes ago in the city chambers. You pulled out batons on civilians. We call that Gestapos. We call those fascists. We call them Nazis. Because that is what you have done today. You somehow topped yourself. You took students. Now, I know we love to talk about the clergy and the press, but y'all took my babies. You took children that I've educated in this community, and you took them and you cited and released them over what? Peacefully protesting. You met us with brutalized force. And I know this region loves to tout itself for being bike friendly, but you somehow have weaponized bikes. Take the bikes away. You have weaponized bikes. How do you weaponize bikes? This is America, as Childish Gambino said. I want y'all to watch. This is America. This is Sacramento, and this ain't as good as we can get. You all need to do so much better. And while I've known that this city has always been racist and classist, but the way you all had your militarized police respond to us because we descended upon East Sacramento. We descended upon the Fab 40s. Shit like that don't happen in South Sacramento. It does not. You showed the clear divisions of redlining that we have known have existed here for history. You pushed us to that bridge because Oak Park was on the other side of that motherfucking bridge. That's why you pushed us, to let us know we don't belong here. You pushed us out of the neighborhoods. You protected whiteness.
Ms.
You
Hope,
protected
your 3
property.
minutes is complete.
You did not protect people.
Thank you, Ms. Hope.
Y'all owe our babies something.
Complete.
I had to go teach today.
Ms. Hope,
While I waited till 3 a.m. for babies to get out of jail. And
my next speaker is Ryan McClinton. Ms. Hope, your time is complete.
people were walking in the dark in Cal Expo.
Ms. Hope.
Those were unfit conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Hope.
Unfit conditions. Shame on you. People had to walk in the dark.
Ms. Hope, your time is complete. Thank you, Ms. Hope.
Have a better plan. This type of policing does not work.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Please take a seat. Please take a seat. Thank you, Ms. Hope.
Yes, of course. It's okay. Finish. No.
My last point, and I would like you all to hear it clearly. Every time we go out into the streets, white folks love to say, oh, you all should go do your jobs. Why are you out here wasting time? Go get a job. Go do something useful. We have jobs. Part of our job is to be here to demand our freedom. But part of our job is also to be able to go out and fight for folks. And what I'm asking for you today is to do your job. We have a list of demands that are very clear. Somehow the buck keeps getting passed. You say, oh, it's Schubert's responsibility. Oh, it's Howard Chan's responsibility. It's Chief Hahn's responsibility. Oh, state law. Oh, POBAR. Oh, all the excuses. We need somebody to do their job. Somebody to use the actual powers that have been granted to you all as elected officials. Because if not, we ready to recall those asses. We are ready. We are ready. Know that the people are ready. Our demands: fire the officers, Howard Chan. I'm looking to you directly in the eyes. Fire the officers, Howard Chan. Mayor Steinberg, Howard Chan, drop all the charges from people that were arrested last night. You have, beyond press and clergy, you have young people who have brilliant futures ahead of them, who are facing misdemeanor charges for demanding their right for freedom and fighting for their community. Drop the charges, fire the officers. 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 Now, I don't know how much more clear we can be. We have told you what we would like to do. We have pointed out to the people who are in power. We have made campaigns. We got folks who do policy up in here. We have doctors. We have lawyers. We have every profession. We have organizers on the ground who have worked in every facet of government trying to get these issues addressed. And here we are 1 year later, and no channel has worked. Fire the officers, drop the charges. 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 I don't know how y'all sleep at night, because I didn't. I didn't sleep. Fire the officers and drop the charges.
Next speaker is Ryan McClinton. Henry.
No, Ryan just spoke.
Ryan just did. Okay. Henry Ortiz, Anita Ross, Lasaya. Is Henry here?
Excuse me, Ryan ceded his minutes to you. No, excuse me, you're not running the meeting. I'm running the meeting here, please. Next, Ms. Ross. Anita Ross. Anita Ross. Ms. Ross.
Is Henry Ortiz here?
Ms. Ross. Anita Ross.
I'm going to respect
respectfully ask for Ryan McClinton to have his 3 minutes, and then I will.
No, this is not the way. No, I'm sorry. No. Ryan.
Bill, if I may.
Please, excuse me. Ryan.
If I may.
Ryan.
If I may, I won't take much of her time.
Go ahead.
I have a few words to speak.
Okay.
The reality is, I hate every time I have to be at this dais. I hate every time I have to be at this podium. Every single time that I have to be at this podium, our system has failed our community. Period. Many of you know how hard I go for this community because I love it, I bleed, I sweat it, I live every moment of this. The voices you see in here, the leaders that you see, the voices that I concede for, because these are the people who are honestly fighting in the spaces that aren't seen, when the cameras aren't here, where the people that you don't recognize aren't fighting for our people. Our people are advocating. Those are the people I go hardest for, because these are the people who are unsung heroes. The babies that you will honor in these spaces are educated by these people. They're elevated by these people. The people who I stood on a bridge being bogged down and trapped with last night, the babies, the brilliant minds of our future that we elevate, are the people this community says we love, but we don't show it. We don't show it. For the first time in my life, I felt I was attacked by my city when I seen 250 police officers fully armed up coming down on students. Let me say that again. Students, clergy, community members, and peacekeepers. This happened because I was peacekeeping. I was doing the job that I'm not paid to do like that. I do it because I love our community. And I'm taking up a lot of time, and I really don't want to take up too much of Anita's time, because she is a great leader in the city and you need to hear her voice as well. But I do need you guys to understand that our systemic failures have to stop now, and it starts by you taking bold action. Firing these officers isn't just about saying, okay, we just want to see you guys do something finally. No, this is public safety. Our community is telling you we don't feel safe with these officers on the street. I need you guys to hear this and understand it deeply. Where we ask you to pass AB 392, it's not about just getting some political win. No, it's about how do we change the culture of how our babies are dying in our streets. You guys have that ability to do that locally. The commission that we fought for, that we advocated so hard for, and you told us this is the only way we could do it. Larry, you know what I'm talking about. You told us that we had to go to a ballot to go ahead and get us to the next level. So the way that it's operating now, where they made a recommendation that they said we want all of our intentions to go on setting the standard higher for deadly force, each and every one of you have it on your desk. Why hasn't it been on the agenda? Why hasn't it been a vote yet? Why aren't you supporting it when you said last year you will support any bill that brings police reform to our city and our state? I need to see this happen.
I do support it, Ryan.
And I need everybody to support it. I need to come on. Hold on. Daryl, I appreciate that, and Mayor Daryl, I appreciate that, but what I need to see was action behind that. I need to see it on next week's agenda, and I need to see a 9-0 vote that passes. That's what it means to support it to me. That's what it means to support it to us. Show us with action. You guys do some good work at times. We need you to do great work right now.
Faith without works is dead.
Anita, take your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Go.
Anita Ross, I come to you as a leader of Women for Equality. I come to you as the mother of 3 black children. I come to you as the wife of Reverend Kevin Ross, who was arrested last night, and his clergy, and the father of my children. That's the capacity I come to you. I need to tell you that my body is hurting. I wasn't there last night, and my body is traumatized. On Saturday, let me start by saying injustice is trauma. Being on the receiving end of excessive force and abuse of power is trauma. And the witnessing of that and any thereof is trauma. So now you have 84 from last night, and then you take all their family members and you take all the people that are impacted, and you look at your city. Your city is divided and your city is hurting. On Saturday, the DA, we all knew. We knew what the decision was. And so she reopened a wound. But what we didn't expect was for her to open up a new wound and to vilify and put Stephon Clark on trial. It was completely out of line. And I did not hear people say that was out of line. There are leaders here that can say it's out of line. And then you have people hurting and come out in the community because we have to be heard. We have to be heard. Even AB 392, as I sat with Assemblymember Kevin McCarty, said, all this will do is let the people say and call bullshit on use of force. That's all we can do. So what do we have to? We have to hit the streets. We have to speak up. We have to be here angry. Where do we go? We have laid out an opportunity for you to move from partial city officials, because right now you represent part of the city. And you can move. We're laying it out for you to move to city officials and own your titles. Become leaders in pushing and making sure AB 392 passes. That's one. Fire Howard Chan. I don't know if you got the memo, but you need to fire these officers. Fire the officers. I'm not sure what that blank look means, but fire the officers. Fire them. Take a stand. Be about this for real, like for real. Be in leadership. Step into leadership. We have asked you to give this Sacramento Police Commission more power. Let them have full review, policy review. Let them have subpoena power, and let them have recommendations for you know what I'm talking about, recommendations for discipline. And lastly, drop the charges of every single person who was taken last night and arrested and treated like cattle. My husband was sitting on a sidewalk in the cold. His wrists have marks on them from last night. Have a heart. Hello. Represent humanity. Thank you.
Next speaker is Henry Ortiz. Is Mr. Ortiz here? Following Henry Ortiz is Lazaya, then Reverend Brian M. Livingston. Lazaya?
Good evening, and thank you for your time. To everyone that was out there last night, thank you for being there, but I'm sorry you had
Please speak to the city council.
There's a couple things I want to talk about. We had a decision on Sunday, and then we had a decision today. And I understand use of force was necessary to stop the threat. But did it really take 20 bullets to stop the threat? Did they know what they were shooting behind Mr. Clark? They're adjoining yards, neighborhoods. People are coming out when they hear the helicopter. Did it really take 20 shots to stop him? When the threat was eliminated, where was the medical assistance? Okay? I don't think Mr. Clark stood for those 20 shots. I think he hit the ground pretty quickly, and it's my understanding you should call for medical assistance. That's cruel and unusual punishment. We didn't hear the DA talk about anything like that. She did not mention, after the officers checked on one another, which is appropriate, no one called for help immediately. We had a female officer still asking Mr. Clark if he was okay. Obviously, he wasn't moving. I understand they don't know if the threat is completely eliminated or if it's a ruse. I get that. But you can have an officer cover another officer while they try and make sure he's not a ruse. There has to be something with excessive force. There has to be. I don't know what that looks like, but 20 shots is a lot. Saturday, I listened to our DA speak. I was with my 81-year-old mother. I'm not originally from this area. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I grew up around a lot of demonstrations. My mother asked me, why is she talking about the mother of his children? Why is she talking about specific texts that was shared between them? Why is she bringing an uninvolved party into this situation who can't defend herself? And the only thing I could come up with is the woman does not have a soul. She is soulless. I
I lost my brother when he was 22, and I don't know how I would have reacted if she would have said some of the things about him. I think we would have had a situation. So my time is up. I don't know who supervised her, but someone needs to look into her actions.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Reverend Brian Livingston, then Armando Flores, then Sally Shapiro. Reverend here. Armando Flores. Sally Shapiro. Ms. Shapiro. Following Ms. Shapiro is Kevin Boltz, then Dr. Christy Hagens.
Yeah, I'm passionate about my singing because I apologize. I can't speak as eloquently as you all, but I applaud you, everything you said. And I'm also singing for the suffering of the homeless, which happens daily, hourly, and every minute.
I got it.
Many trials to you. May you keep on smiling in your gin. You create a scary zoo from the evil games you need to win. Many tries to you. You help the wealthy class. They cook you a Ponzi stew, and you give them a free pass. Happy trails to you. You labor for a dime. You who earn so little, you had not to be so kind. Happy trails, especially to you. They've kicked you to the curb. They said they would help you, but they haven't kept their word. Happy trails to all of us, still having God-given free will, while doing what we must. In each may God's holiness fill.
Hello, everybody. I want to start by addressing something you said when you came right back in. You said if we acted in the fashion we did again, this meeting could not go on. Yet multiple people have been killed by these motherfuckers and Stephon. It has continued to go on. So you care more about decorum in here than you do people who are alive. Because you shut down meetings over decorum. Stop looking at me like that. You're so immature. But you haven't shut them down over killing people. My journey with Sacramento killing black people began with Joseph Mann, a human being in need of emergency medical attention. He was instead met with the care of Sac PD in the form of "fuck this guy, I'm gonna hit him," Officer Tennis. Last year, Stephon Clark, a human being regardless of accused activities, toxicology reports, or relationship status, was a human being with a Fourth Amendment right, who instead was criminalized due to his race and murdered in a state-sanctioned execution. You can't even look at me, I'm so right. Last evening, I watched an overfunded and hyper-militarized force, not police, occupational force, agitate protesters, instill fear and panic, and then kettle them in a classic kettle and corral tactic, which, by the way, was started in the open-air prison known as Palestine by Israeli police and taught to our police all over this country. How much we pay to learn that? The underlying factor of all these cases is SAC law enforcement dehumanizes people on our dollars and with your agreement. When was the last time you were dehumanized? Because I think it's about time. You have shown zero ability to empathize with us. You have shown less ability to care. You are all terrible officials, in my opinion, worse people. To quote Dr. King, a riot is the language of the unheard, and you ain't fucking listening. The last person who spoke before the singer said Anne-Marie Schubert has no soul. To quote Stokely Carmichael, in order for peaceful protest to work, your overseer has to have a conscience. You don't have one. You radicalized 84 people on a bridge last night for no reason. They showed up peacefully and were still arrested. Someone up here with all your education explain to me why they should be peaceful next time. What is the onus? What is the impetus? You fucked them up when they were peaceful. You don't get it. You don't listen. You think it's going to stay like this. And I'm going to start right here saying I don't speak for anyone else or any group out here. This city's going to burn in the next 30 to 60 days if you don't shut up and listen.
Shut it down!
Dr. Christy Higgins, Amrit Sandhu, and then Fernando Nadal.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Dr. Christy Higgins. I'm a psychologist. So we need to be able to create spaces for people to talk, to address the trauma that they are experiencing that many people, I imagine, being here tonight will be walking away with. And so I want to just let the community know, at least, that part of the work of Safe Black Space is creating opportunities for African Americans to come together to address and to look at the institutional and systemic kind of impact of racism on our psyche, on our experiences, and on our reality. And so we are offering and have been offering these safe black spaces for our community since the killing of Stephon Clark every month. We'll be doing one again this Thursday night at Unity of Sacramento at 6:30 p.m. for African American folks who identify as dealing with and addressing this trauma. I encourage those of you who do not identify as African American to take stock of what you have heard tonight, to be willing to be courageous and to have brave conversations about how we create change, that we take seriously the community's demand that the officers be fired, that we as well adopt AB 392, and that we remember this quote from Audre Lorde that I think is appropriate for me to close with. She says, "If you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it." We're not going to be silent anymore.
Next speaker is Amrit Sandhu, Fernando Nadal, and then Rashid Sadiq.
I'm Amrit Sandhu. I was one of the people arrested last night. I'm also the former president of the Elmhurst Neighborhood Association, my neighborhood, where I was arrested walking home to my house. Not part of the protest. The protest was over. I was walking home. The last person I saw, the last neighbor that I saw before my walk home on 51st Street was my friend, my neighbor, and a friend of many of yours, Assemblymember Kevin McCarty, who also lives in my neighborhood. And we had, a hug, and we were confused about what I know now was kettling. At the time, didn't know. When I tried to cross the police line to get to my house, which the only way I walked there, the only way I could walk back home was that bridge. 48th was closed because the police were pushing people back and kettling all sides. They'd created a circle. I thought I had safe access on 51. I learned later that the police were there too in the streets and that I had no safe way to get home. I am in intense physical and emotional pain today. I've been involved in social justice movements for 2 decades now, in law, in policy, and I've actually never been arrested. I've always been a step removed, but this time it was me, and that was not the outcome I wanted. When I was arrested, my hands were bent toward my wrist until I screamed and until tears flowed out of my eyes, and I said that you're hurting me. And the officer said to shut up, and I told them I'll shut up when they stop hurting me, and they didn't stop until they put me on the sidewalk. I want to let all the Black people in this room know that they are welcome in East Sacramento. And since it's Women's History Month, I want to thank all the Black women who have been organizing all year. I have 10 seconds left, and I have something. The clapping took 10 seconds of mine, but I also, in addition to the charges being dismissed against all of us kettled yesterday, there are people in this room who have been arrested in the last year, including my friend Ebony Harper, for nonviolently protesting. She's scheduled to officiate my wedding in April. She cannot be dealing with this stuff. I need you to work on getting these charges dismissed. And I just want to say that feeling is not weakness, and all the feelings in this room that have been shared are valid so long as Black people are being killed through state-sponsored violence. Thank you.
Now, why didn't you check her on her card? Why didn't you check her on her card? Every Black person who got up and spoke over their card, you told them to shut up. You didn't say anything to her.
Please, come on. Please.
Because she's right. You mad because she's right. You didn't even make eye contact with her while she spoke.
Implicit bias training for city council.
Fernando Nadal. Fernando Nadal here. Is Fernando Nadal here? Rashid Sadiq. Okay. Following Mr. Sadiq is Anna Maria Rugland, and then Betty Williams.
Well, I guess what they are speaking of is white privilege, right? White privilege acts in a lot of different ways. Last night was an emotional night. I was talking to a few people who had folks who were detained on the bridge. I want to give one thank you to Rick Jennings for answering my calls, for giving me information that a lot of these folks' families needed because they didn't know what was going to happen with their children, with their husbands, with their wives, with their friends. I think it was a very unnecessary move. Mayor, we've been meeting for 5 weeks trying to plan for the inevitable. But the inevitable is here, and we did not do well. We flunked. So we need to find out. I can't believe that Chief Hahn does not have understanding of what happened last night. If he's the chief, if I'm the CEO and president, I know what's going on with my people. I think if that's going on, if people are taking actions without his direction, there's a problem. Howard Chan, we haven't heard anything from you. You haven't shown up at any of our meetings, as usual. And I don't know what kind of command that is, but we need action. And we have not seen action. We had people at the hospital last night, broken ankles. This guy's still in pain. So I don't know what kind of tactics they use, but I know it looks like something from the 60s. So, Mayor, if this is going to be your legacy, this is going to be a sad legacy. This is going to be a sad legacy. We have tried. We have done everything to meet with you, to try to understand what your struggle is, but before we even understood our own struggle. And building black, building brown, none of that has worked. Now we're worse than we were last year. And now we got the Attorney General has now said he found him not guilty. The DA, we talked to Selena at the mall. She came out to the mall with the babies. She was hurt because they blamed her for his death. That's basically what she was saying. He was death by suicide by cop because he was so suicidal over the relationship or lack of a relationship. It's crazy. It's crazy. So we have to have action. We cannot do the dance anymore. Let's stop dancing the political dance, Mayor. We have to put something on paper. I tell you, you're a good politician. It may work for your community. It never works for ours. It never works for ours. And it's still not working. This morning I cried. I woke up, I cried because it felt like a nightmare. I cried. But you know what?
Mr. Sadiq, your time is complete. Will you make your final comments?
No, this is a compliment. Hold on, y'all. I'm done. Hold on. Wait.
Finish up. Just finish up.
I can say that I'm very proud of my Sacramento friends and families that answered call to 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, picking people up at Cal Expo. It was people contacting me that I never spoke to. Showed up in vans, cars, and they made 2 and 3 trips to get people back to where they were, or back to their car, or back to their home. So I can say we are a proud Sacramento people, and we do care about our community. We want to know if you care about us.
Anna Maria Rugland, then Betty Williams, then Scarlett Bustos. Anna Maria here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Following Anna Maria is Betty Williams and then Scarlett Bustos.
Sacramento, fondly referred to as a destination city by our mayor, where the unhoused die on the streets, no shelter for the elderly, women and children, and no relief in sight. Sacramento, the destination city where the citizens' voices are silenced, where our First Amendment rights are not respected. Last night, a peaceful protest was held in the most affluent neighborhood in Sacramento to bring to light the inequities, racism, and police brutality in our city that those that live there are insulated from. Our voices were silenced by your Gestapo. We were given orders to disperse with nowhere to go. We were given orders to comply that we were unable to fulfill. We were corralled into a corner on a freeway overpass. We had youth that were terrified, crying. I had to comfort many. One was hyperventilating and no medical assistance was offered to her. Kind of cruel. I'm proud of my community. I'm proud of all of y'all. But I'm ashamed to call myself a Sacramento. Fuck Sacramento.
My name is Brandy Wood, and I got detained, arrested.
Ms. Wood, would you move
by
over?
a bike officer and their bike last
Ms.
night.
Wood, we
No,
can't hear you.
No,
We can't
no.
hear you unless you
Do
move to
know
the microphone.
That my ankle is broken because of the acts of Sacramento Police Department. Do you know when I got released about 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't go home to my family. I had to go straight to the hospital and stay there for hours. Not for no minor, because my bone is broke. Do you know when I went home, my 9-year-old son, my king, said, Mommy, what happened? And I can't tell my baby what happened, because y'all are monsters. And we're supposed to tell our babies that you're protecting us. And even though I want to lie to my son and tell my baby that he will be okay, because y'all, I can't lie to my king. I can't tell him that the same person that broke his mother's foot when she was unarmed and her hands were in the air, when she was following directions to get to her vehicle, that's where I was going, and got assaulted by an officer in his bike. And it obviously wasn't a bump if my bone got broke. I am a citizen in Sacramento, and I've never spoke out loud. I've never been in a position like this, and I am appalled. Corral ain't even the word. I haven't slept. I'm in pain. I made sure I didn't take my pain meds so I could come here. My husband's standing out in the rain right now. So I can come here. And you're sitting there holding your head? You're holding your head? Then you need to resign your damn self, because you ain't man enough to be in You got a headache? You got a headache? How do you think we feel? How do you think I feel? And the word is action. That's the key word. Because I see what you're doing with our children, also opening these little pop-ups. Stop using our children as pawns. Yes. We don't need that. Yes. We don't need that. We don't need no skating. We don't need you to do that. It's us. You need to do your action and get these people out of office and make a change, or they're going to continue on doing this. And it's on your back, Mr. Mayor.
Do your job.
The next speaker is Betty Williams, Scarlett Bustos, and then Fong.
Good evening, Mayor. I'm Betty Williams, President of the Greater Sacramento NAACP. What I can tell you is that what you're witnessing tonight is pain from the drama that happened last night. What I can tell you, as the President of the NAACP, we had something called Ground Zero, where we were responsible for taking on the calls and calling attorneys and bail bondsmen in the event something happened. What I can tell you, I was part of many of those meetings that we had here in City Hall to manage and to talk about how we would deal with what I call the verdict of the DA. As I told you, I decided to stop coming to the meetings because I felt it was trying to control our speech. I told you that I could not walk with you because I felt that you didn't hear our pain and would not allow us to walk as we wanted to walk. You proved me right yesterday. Our phones, as I watched the live feed, as my group was watching and preparing to call attorneys, I saw our people walk in peace. I saw the police position and get ready to move on them. So I immediately told my team, I said, they're getting ready to be arrested. Get ready. Call the attorneys. Get ready. So everyone got on board. We got so many calls last night regarding help. It crashed our system. That's how many calls we got last night. We took those calls, and then later I had to post on Facebook where everyone should go in order to meet or to find their loved ones. When I got there, I felt like I was in a MASH unit. The trauma was so thick from what they had went through was ridiculous. When I saw the youth from Sac State trembling, but I stayed there until every single one was released. Even at the time when I thought everyone was released, I heard someone say, Ms. Williams, we have one more. Please come back and make sure we release that one more. What you don't seem to understand is the pain and the trauma, and you have invested millions of dollars in training our law enforcement to treat us like this? Mayor, I did hear you that you are going to support AB 392, but I didn't hear the rest of the city council saying that they would support 392. I'm also asking why we saw that the DA took 75% of their time to take out Stephon Clark and 25% to say why she was convicting him. So I want, at the local level, for you to take the time, when this happens again, and it will, to do the toxicology of police officers the way you did toxicology.
Ms. White, your time is complete. Will you make your final comments?
As I finish, also take the text messages of police officers 48 hours prior to them. And my last word to you, Mayor and City Council, it ain't over.
Next speaker is Scarlett Bustos, then Fong, then John Stoller.
Hi, Mayor Steinberg, Mayor Pro Tem Ashby, council members, hello. My name is Scarlett Bustos, and I'm a local activist here in Sacramento. This isn't where I wanted to announce this, but in January I became the lead coordinator for the Women's March in Sacramento. And I was one of the thousands of people who was watching that live stream last night, and it was absolutely painful. One of the things that most pained me that I went and looked back over and over again was the police officers threatening the protesters with both lethal and non-lethal force. Yeah. I had to rewind the tape multiple times just to see that I heard it right, and that's what was said, that they were threatening lethal and non-lethal force for protesters. And Women's March is a protest. I'll have you know, it's a protest. Yes, we're organized, but yes, it's a protest. And I could have been out there. I have been out there. I've been out there multiple times, you know, and I was watching friends of mine in fear of this. So I don't want to take very much more time because I really do want to say that I personally, as the new lead coordinator of Women's March Sacramento, that I fully support the table who organized the protest last night and their list of demands. And if somebody from the table would like to talk about the list of demands or come up while I kind of say what they are. Ryan McClinton, if you're still here, that'd be really great.
We know what they are.
Number one, or Adrian, are you here? Yeah, Adrian, can Adrian articulate them for me so that I can say them?
Sure. I mean, they've been They've been repeated a few times. We know what they are, the 4 things.
Okay. So number 1, Chief Daniel Hahn, we'd like you to recommend the Sacramento City police officers, Terrence Mercadal and Jared Robinette, for termination immediately. City Manager Howard Chan approve and execute this recommendation immediately. Mayor and City Council give full policy review, subpoena, and disciplinary recommendation powers to the City Sacramento Police Department, Police Commission, please. The resignation or recall of District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert and Sheriff Scott Jones. Stop the over-policing of their neighborhoods. The Sacramento Unified School District, Twin Rivers Unified School District, Natomas Unified School District, end the contracts with and remove school resource officers, San Juan, that's SROs, AKA police, from Sacramento area K through 12 schools. Sacramento Mayor and City.
Ms. Bustos, your time is complete. Will you make your final comment?
And drop the charges, and also to support AB 392 here in the city of Sacramento locally.
Next speaker is Fong, and then John Stoller.
All right. It's been a while, but you know, I am here to remind you again that you need to learn from the people. We came together. We came together while you were trying to sleep in your bed. We came from a place of love. We came from a place of solidarity to talk about some of the things that's been happening in this city. So I did prepare something, and I will probably take over 3 minutes, but I will continue to speak, Becky.
No, you have 3 minutes, and take your 3 minutes, please. That's what you have. You're not taking more than 3 minutes. No, you're not. So go right ahead. Go right ahead. This is a public meeting.
You're interrupting me, Daryl.
Then start again.
You
start
are
her
interrupting
again.
me.
3 minutes. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Go, and then you're going to be done. Go. Go.
Don't start yet. So, I don't call us protesters. We are conscientious objectors to injustice. To disperse, but moved in on them, leaving them no outlet. They rammed the bike into a woman, causing her to twist and break her ankle. That's battery. She had to be carried out to her car. I was helping her. They pushed people with their bikes and stood in formation with guns drawn. But mainstream media is saying another narrative, just like what you are trying to do. Trying to change things around, backpedal, saying sorry to Stephon Clark's family. You regret it. But you endorse Anne Marie Schubert. You endorsed her. And tell the people, remember what you said? You told them, hell with you, Daryl. The police will tell lies and took their roid rage on women, students, and clergy. The police failed to disperse when people marched and held space peacefully. History is being made, but we need to continue to tell the people's history. White supremacy only serve and protect the white narrative of fear and hate. They force this narrative and believe any grief reaction or response to be from a place of their own fear of black, brown, and people of color. Now, how else would they justify their violence? Police are cowards. and worthless to the people. They only serve bigots and white supremacy. We, the people, are more powerful.
Long, your time is complete. Will you make your final comments?
I grieve the injustice and the failures of the city to let a black man live.
Long, your time is
I am
complete.
not black. Becky?
Please wrap up.
I mourn for the loss of justice.
Away.
How can anyone be at peace?
Thank you.
How can anyone be at peace? You will not rest. Sacramento.
My next speaker is John Stoller.
Ms. Lee, please sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Next. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down, Ms. Lee. Sit down, Ms. Lee. Next.
My next speaker is John Stoller. Then
John
Jade
Stoller.
Nicole, and
John
then Aaron
Stoller.
Miner.
Great.
All right.
One
so
more
first of
time, I'm
all-
going to ask anybody shutting out to leave.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Thank you all for coming back out after what happened. My name is John Stoller. I'm a defense attorney. I'm a former civil rights attorney, and I'm here today with the ACLU of Sacramento. I have a statement prepared by ACLU of Northern California, and then if I have time, I have a few of my own comments. Last night, this is from the ACLU. Last night, local Sacramento police attacked every single First Amendment protected right and freedom. Please save your applause to the end, please. 3 different police agencies conspired to arrest a pastor engaged in peaceful protest, an attack on religious freedom. They also conspired then to arrest a journalist, an attack on the freedom of the press, and then they attacked a peaceful protest, also an attack on the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Arresting peaceful protesters attacks the First Amendment rights of the people at large, and it attacks their rights to peacefully assemble and to petition their government to redress their grievances. The Sacramento area chapter of the ACLU, as the local grassroots representative of the nation's strongest defender of that First Amendment, we demand an investigation, we demand transparency and accountability for the unconscionable attacks on our rights and freedoms. So that's what the ACLU had to say, and Mayor, I did see your statements in the B that you do want an investigation. I commend you for that. Turning to my own comments, just as a former civil rights attorney, I question the legality of an order to lawfully disperse after corralling people in the manner it was done. It doesn't seem to me to be a constitutional use of the executive power to do it in that manner. To protest, and these people, I'm a professional public speaker, a lot of you are former lawyers, you're professional public speakers. These people are not professional public speakers, and to come out here takes a lot of uncommon courage. To go out and protest in the middle of the night takes uncommon courage. And I very much worry about the steps that are used by police in the future when it comes to mass arrests at protest, because you risk chilling free speech. These are people, some of them will come out and protest again, but many of them may not. Many of them may feel they cannot engage in free speech again. And so when you are going over your policies, as I know you will, you have said you will, so I believe that, but you also reach out to people that have represented these folks in the past, civil rights attorneys, public defenders, criminal defense attorneys, and look into those measures that reach into the constitutional nature of the actual orders that are given. Because it's very concerning when you have 84 people arrested in one night. That will chill speech. And it's not the first time I have seen this or seen these actions of a mass arrest during a protest. So thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Jade Nicole. I think Miss Nicole left. Aaron Miner and Brian Reese. Is Aaron Miner here? Thank you. Brian Reese is following Mr. Miner, and then Kat Carell.
My name is Aaron M. Miner. I am the Legislative Director of the Wellstone Progressive Democrats of Sacramento.
and an elected delegate to the California Democratic Party. I'm also one of the protesters who was arrested last night.
Listen, girl.
I can attest to the peacefulness of the march and to the brutality of the police last night. The police stalked us for over a dozen blocks, growing in strength and numbers as they proceeded, and at the very end of the march, when we had reached its natural conclusion, they stood behind us initially in a phalanx about 30 men wide and 3 rows deep, fully armed with police batons at the ready, with assault rifles at the ready, and plenty of other weapons that I cannot identify, for I'm not so well trained in their use as our honorable police officers. The pretext they used for their arrests was counts of vandalism, about 5 cars they claimed were keyed, and a stolen MAGA hat. But when I was detained, and when I was charged with refusal to disperse, they did not question me at all about vandalism or about the MAGA hat. They simply kept me in cuffs for about an hour and a half at the very least. I do not know, because I was not looking at the clock, when I was arrested. But it was at least an hour and a half, and they were very tight cuffs. Despite that, it seems I got off a lot easier than many of my black and brown colleagues. The fact of the matter is, it seems to me that this was indeed nothing but a pretext to disrupt a peaceful, protected protest. Now, the police will no doubt tell you that they were simply doing their job, that they're doing this by the book. But to be honest, we've heard these excuses before. And I don't just mean we in general, but also you and I, specifically, Mayor Steinberg, as fellow gentlemen of Jewish descent, and we heard this at Nuremberg. And I make that comparison seriously, because the Nazis were inspired by the genocide of the Native Americans and the violence perpetuated against African Americans in this country. Fascism existed in this country before there was a name for it. And it persists today thanks to you. The demands of my fellows, which they have already made, are more than reasonable. They have the right to demand more. And since I see my time is almost up, I'll close with one more statement. Nearly most of the people who have spoken here stood down the same phalanx that I did. And despite the fact that what I endured was only a fraction of what they must endure on a regular basis, they stood their ground. I did my best as well. But in the face of a room full of unarmed,
Thank you, Mr. Minor. Your time is complete. Will you
loud
make
people,
your final comments?
you ran away, Mr. Steinberg. You ran away.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brian Reese, then Kat Carell.
Hello, my name is Brian. I am a lifelong Sacramento. I was happy to and proud to be out there protesting with everyone last night. Peacefully protesting. I was happy to be peacefully protesting with him when a man came out with the modern symbol of white supremacy, a MAGA hat, and he started antagonizing this peaceful protest. I was proud how the protesters, even as things started to flame up, it wasn't the police who came and calmed things down, it was the protesters. They said, this isn't what we're out here, this isn't our mission, back on mission. We started marching again. Please listen. This is worth listening to. It was peaceful. There's this nonsense about cars being keyed. Nonsense. There were so many live videos. Check them. Find a single protester keying a car. Let's see it. I want to see it. We have tons of video. They don't exist. I did see a car getting damaged. And that was at the end, when a cop was taking his bicycle and shoving it into 3, 4, I don't even know how many people. They rammed into this car over and over again. Your police. Your police. It was crap. We had already dispersed. We'd finished to the end. The organizer said, okay, we've come to say our piece. The officers don't have anything left to hear that we haven't already said them. If we're ready, go ahead and disperse. It was only after that that they started moving forward and arresting. We were already dispersing. Why did they move on us? That's it right there. That's it right there. It's my turn.
I'm listening.
I've asked the rest of my time because I don't have much else to say to whoever needs an extra minute.
No, that's not the way we do it. Thank you. Next. No, no, no. No, you sit down. No, no. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. I will recess the meeting again unless you go sit down. Sit down. Go sit down. No. You've had a chance. No, you had a chance to speak. Go sit down. No. Next. Next. If you want to, if everybody else wants to be heard, this gentleman needs to sit down. No. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. I will recess this meeting in 30 seconds and let you sit down. Sit down. Sit down. You don't have any time left. Sit down. Next. 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 You're done. Sit down, sir. You had your 3 minutes. Next. 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 You had your 3 minutes.
Our next speaker is Kat Carell, Etunde Ikuku, and then Matthew Bridges.
I'm going to try to make sure everyone gets heard here. Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm a member of the local board for the ACLU, Sacramento chapter. My fellow board member, John Stoller, already read the statement from the ACLU, so I will speak contemporaneously, or extemporaneously, rather. What happened last night was sad. I think we all agree on that. Now, the police had time to plan for this protest, and what we saw was their plan A, and it was terrible. So that's the problem, that was the police's plan A. That's the problem. So what's the solution? Because when you have a problem, many here are focusing on the problem, and that is so right for that to happen. That is so right. But let's move beyond that for a moment to what can be a solution.
Hurt? Somebody hurt? Excuse me. If I see somebody's lying down. Is somebody hurt, I'm asking? No? Okay. Go ahead.
One solution is for this council to support AB 392, to pass a resolution and to let our state legislature know that you support a modified use of force standard for the entire state of California. Show that you support that in an official resolution. And another and more important thing, we need a civil police review commission. We need a civil run and populated board to review police actions in our community, because what has been happening so far is not working. There are excellent results with civilian police review boards in other cities. I can provide you with documentation on that, should you like. But I think you've probably had it brought to your attention before. But think of those too. Think in terms of the solutions. AB 392 supported, and a civilian police review commission.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
392.
Sorry?
Address 392.
Sure.
If you look at the City Council meeting on February the 26th, you will see we adopted a legislative platform. You can pull up the agenda and watch it on the internet, and you'll see that we passed in our legislative agenda not only to support 392, but also to support the Attorney General setting up an independent investigator when there's deadly force used by the police. So look at February the 26th. We've done it already, and it passed 9-0.
Just stop killing people. That's all we're
Hey,
asking.
Ms. Lee, please,
We are
please.
asking for that. Stop killing
Next,
people.
next.
Our next speaker is Ayatunde Ikuku. Ayatunde.
I'm afraid of you.
No amount of
And Matthew Bridges, and then Earl Levels.
Next.
Give me a second. You know what? I wish I could say I was disappointed. I fucking told you specifically last year what was gonna happen. I told you that Sacramento was tired, and now you fucking beat us because you can't get your fucking pigs in control? Why was only one person on this motherfucking council the person to take away their endorsement from Schubert? Why is it public fucking knowledge that Schubert got fucking money from police institutions, which is a fucking DA? But only one of you had the fucking integrity to take away that endorsement. And you're wondering why people are pissed at you? You're not doing your fucking job. That's right. You don't care about the fucking people of Sacramento, and you're gonna fucking regret this. You're gonna reap what you have sown. I already told you this the fucking last year. I told you Sacramento was tired. I told you the fucking shit is festering. It's a fucking sickness, and it's caused by you. And you know what? The antidote is so fucking simple, and we already gave you fucking guidelines and blueprints and demand after demand, as transparent as we could have. Our fucking community leaders have already tried to sit in fucking closed meetings with you to do their best to try to be on the same level as you, knowing you're already corrupt as fuck, and still here we are fucking getting arrested in abundance and assaulted. When the fuck are you gonna do your job? When the fuck are you gonna do your job? And you know what? The funniest part about this is all this shit is recorded, and when people bring up your legacy, this is what they're gonna remember about all of you. Don't expect a fucking future because you're digging your motherfucking grave. You're digging your grave, and we are not going to sit here and take your fucking bullshit because you lack integrity, and you perpetuate the dehumanization of Sacramento people, of black people, of people of color, of marginalized people who come here every fucking week to try to gain some sympathy from you soulless motherfuckers who all you fucking care about is dollar bills. It's not a fucking surprise, you know, that you don't have humanity, that you're in a fucking political position. But there's people out there who, for some reason, they still have hope, and every time, those same people are traumatized because they had that hope. They had hope that you would protect their children, their family members. I just don't understand why you don't understand the importance of empathy. Basic fucking empathy. We are not asking for much. And this is not anything new. This has been going on since the fucking civil rights era. This has been going on since slavery, since the genocide of Native American people, since colonization. People just want you to leave them the fuck alone and let them live. Right. You have so much power to help so many people who are marginalized. Right. And you're fucking mad at us for asking help when you are the fucking resource. So where the fuck do we go? And you are, oh my God, you are such a sensitive little bitch. You can't even hear profanity. You can't even hear fucking profanity. You're not out here getting beat by motherfucking grown-ass trained men with fucking weapons and big-ass bodies and tactical training. I swear to fucking God.
Sir, your time is complete. Will you make your final comments?
I'm not a motherfucking sir, so do not assume shit. And that's what's fucking wrong with you. You lack cultural competency. You cannot speak to your constituents properly. It's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing. I'm only 22.
Will you please have a seat?
I can promise you my ethics are far more evolved than you.
Call the next person, please.
The
Thank you.
next speaker is Matthew Bridges, then Earl Levels, and then Joyce Levels.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next speaker. Sir, please sit down. Thank you. Would you have a seat, please? Matthew Bridges is our next
Please.
speaker.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
You cannot do your fucking job helping those
I hear you. I hear you. Next.
There's fucking two sides. There's people who hurt us, people who are on our side. And so either you are the person hurting us, or you're going to support us. There's no.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I do hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Please let us allow everyone to speak, please. I hear you. I hear you. Sir, you.
You took my word as a threat.
You called him a threat last
Sir, you need to stop now. I hear you. I do hear you, and I hear your pain. Please come on back. Come on back next week. Come on back again. Come on back again, okay? Please, next.
My next speaker is Matthew Bridges.
If you misgender anyone else in this chamber, I will call the ACLU right now. Right now.
Matthew Bridges, then Earl Lewis, then Earl Levels, and Joyce Levels.
I'm this close. Please, sir.
Matthew?
Thank you. So the pronouns are they, them. Am I correct? They, them.
Thank you.
They, them.
Please, we cannot we cannot hear everyone and finish the meeting if people continue to yell out. Excuse me, please. Go ahead, sir.
Right. Thank you. So if someone here were to ask me how I'm feeling right now, the answer to that question would be I'm fucking torn up. I was marching in the streets last night, and I was holding the line. I was walking in the back facing, it looked like a sea of armed police officers. And I was looking at them in their eyes, and I told them, I'm 22 years old. You know how old Stephon Clark was when he was shot? Do I have to prove to you that my life matters? I don't think so. Why do we have to prove to you that Black lives matter? Through all of this.
Thank you.
And I think it's really apparent here that as human beings, we respond to each other's joy, and we also respond to each other's trauma and pain. And that's what's going on here. So the other question that I had is, why were there so many California Highway Patrol officers there last night? They were actively on call throughout the day. Now, SACPD is one thing. We got our own issues to deal with here. The sheriff, that's another thing. We've got more issues. But when we're talking the California Highway Patrol, they're under a different system and set of policies. And that made me really, really scared. I was in fear for not only my life, but for all of these lives, for our community's lives, for the Black lives that were there last night. The unfortunate part is that these police officers who are out there, their morality is determined by the state and by the laws and policies that govern them. They cannot act individually, or else they will lose their jobs, which is exactly what should happen to the two officers who murdered Stephon Clark. The other thing I wanted to uplift quickly is that we did pass a Measure U in this city. I was out going door to door telling people in the community that this money was going to go to their communities. And albeit, there's been a few things funded toward youth community centers. But looking at the latest report, 6 out of the $11 million so far raised by Measure U were spent on police and fire. $508,000.
Bridges.
That's not true.
$500,000
Your time is
of
complete.
that
Will you
went
make your
to
final comment?
equipment, police equipment.
That's inaccurate, sir. I'll be happy to talk to you
Thank
later
you.
about that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Earl Levels, and then Joyce Levels. My next speaker is Earl Levels, then Joyce Levels, Michelle Belton. Are the Levels here? Is Michelle Belton here? Thank you, Michelle.
Michelle Belton.
Following Miss Belton is Elijah Diaz, and then Sarah.
Good evening. I don't have a whole bunch of special titles. I am just here because I am a mother of 5 boys. And all of you guys sitting here on the panel morally know that the crime that was wrong. The officers made a mistake. If it was your son, what actions would you want to have done if they would have shot your child? What repercussions would you want to have done? I think that the officers should be fired. You have to make good on this, because if you don't, there are going to be many Stephon Clarks after this. I am just here to try to keep my sons alive. And it's not even black on black crime anymore. It's police on citizen crime. And the police, we want to trust you. But Mayor Steinberg, you put up these pop-ups. My kids take pictures with you. Angelique, you know me. Mr. Warren, you know me. I am trying to keep my 5 young men on the right path. I am trying to have them be respectful to their peers and to their elders. But how can they do that if you killing us, if you guys are not knowing who we are, not knowing where we come from, if you don't tap into us? How can you do that? We're going to continue to have these discussions. But you guys have to make good on what we're asking for, and it's not much. We can't bring him back. We can't bring him back. But Mayor Steinberg, you are setting our children up for failure. You're setting them up to be disrespectful, to not being able to communicate without being disrespectful. And I'm trying to help my sons be respectful to everyone. And so I'm just asking you, is there a way that you can do that? You have the power. You guys up here have the power. We can talk, we can curse, we can yell, but that's not going to make it right. That's not going to fix what has happened. And all I'm saying to you is I am reaching out to you as a mother, as a single mother raising 5 black boys. You got to do something else different. You have to train our officers to be more sympathetic. You have to train our officers how to talk to us and we talk to you. You have to train our officers to come into my hood, come into my neighborhood, because nobody's neighborhood is better than the other. We're all the same at the end of the day. We bleed the same color at the end of the day.
Ms. Belton, your time is complete. Will you make your final comment?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belton.
Next speaker is Elijah Diaz, then Sarah, then Olivia Monahan. Is Elijah here? Sarah? Is Sarah here? Following Sarah is Olivia Monahan.
I'm actually going to give my time to Miss Sonia. I would just like to say, though, that my children were out there last night. Fortunately, they got away last night, but we had to walk through dark streets to get back to our car. And the comment out of my 14-year-old son's mouth was, "Mom, I feel like I'm going to die tonight." And my very first response to him was, "We may have to hide." That's what Daryl Richards had to do. That's a name we haven't spoken here that your guys' police department has killed as well after that policy was implemented.
Are you Sonia Lewis? Are you Sonia Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you.
The tears, I so bad want to go back to March 18, 2018, when I got that emergency phone call from a friend in the neighborhood that SAC PD had converged on my beloved Meadowview, not Carr's Meadowview, not Steinberg's Meadowview. Because you two have been extremely complicit in letting Meadowview suffer for decades. A question has remained in my mind since that day and still remains. Are you at war with this community? Because the war tactics used last night are classic to what America, spelled AMERIKKKA, has always been with respects to white supremacy and the protecting of white privilege and comfortability in this country. This kind of treatment is indicative of taxation without representation, when in reality my black tax dollars are just as green as your white tax dollars and those who live in the Fab 40s. Taxation without representation means there are a very different set of rules of engagement with respects to law enforcement, criminal justice, education, healthcare, policy, etc. Taxation without representation means the police won't protect and serve my black ass the way that they will protect and serve your white ass. Steinberg, I declined, and thank you for wanting to include me in those meetings that you were having over the past month, but I declined them intentionally because over almost a year you've been silent to Stephon Clark. The rest of this city council has been silent too, and silence is violence. Complicity is equal to murder. Your silence, it is terror, it is trauma. Trauma is the realization that you are no longer safe. We are not safe. I am not safe. My 6 sons are not safe. Black skin is not safe. The home where Stephon was murdered was my Uncle Tommy T's home, where he lived for almost 50 years. They knocked on the neighbor's door, but they didn't knock on his. The sheriff helicopter, the dirty bird as we call it in the hood because we get over police so constantly, they didn't shine a light, and none of you have asked Schubert, who you endorsed, to ask a question about the Sacramento Sheriff Department, who did not turn on that bright-ass fucking light that terrorizes neighborhoods like Meadowview and Oak Park and Del Paso Heights on a regular. 20 years ago in the very neighborhood of Meadowview, Don Venerable was murdered by 2 Sacramento police officers with a cell phone in his hand because of property damage in his own driveway. Thank you, I'm going to finish. The tears I shed last night flowed nonstop because I realized what I was witnessing was a reincarnation of the KKK, that when I was 18 years old in Atlanta, Georgia, I witnessed them standing in a line as a bunch of college students were celebrating MLK's memorial. I wanted to go back home to Sacramento, California, because I did not feel safe when I was standing in front of the KKK. My body froze in 1989. Over this past year, I'm not as scared of him or them or him or any officer in blue that wants to say their blue life matter, which is an oxymoron because it does not exist.
Ma'am, you need to wrap up, please.
Last night, I was reminded of the experience that triggered my 18-year-old self, just like those babies who were on that overpass last night, who will stay with, that memory will stay with them forever, terrorized and arrested.
Hey, lady, he told you to wrap it up. Now sit down.
Of Selma, Alabama, on that bridge where the police took over civilians who were marching for freedom and justice.
Sonia, your time is complete.
For you to
stop. Make your comment.
I'm done.
Thank you.
I need you to stop interrupting the community and listen. Stop pimping and pandering to our sensibilities. Because at the end of the day, the rubber meets the road with actions. And you're not showing us shit.
Olivia Monahan, and it's either Marie or Mark Godges. representing UC Davis.
So I don't like public speaking, and I hate y'all, so this is not really comfortable for me, but I'm here anyway. My name is Olivia Monahan, and I'm not really somebody that you care about. I am a single Latina mother. I am a mother of trans youth. I am a big-ass stoner. I write about hip-hop for a living, and I'm definitely not throwing money in any of your pockets. My mouth is dirty, and after last night, my mental is fucked up because I've protested in Mexico with AKs pointed at my head, with motherfucking federales screaming at me to move or die, and they had less hate in their eyes than these motherfuckers do now, and they did last night. Yes. Officers, overseers, we see you. Your hatred is showing. It boiled to the surface as it reddened the flesh of your cheeks, a shade of crimson so unnatural that it can only be created from a combination of malice and lack of melanin. It percolated in the heat of your breath as it fogged up the glass of your riot helmet, and it was etched in the white of your knuckles as you gripped that baton, wishing for a reason to use it, and God knows you did. We see you. Your ignorance is showing. It's evident in every move you make. It's evident in every move you let these motherfuckers make. It's evident every time that they were allowed to remind us that they could use lethal force whenever they wanted. It was clear in every threat that was screamed at us while we were reminded that you were capable of carrying out anything you wanted to do while you were wearing 20 pounds of armor and we only had our words. It was obvious how ignorant you are and will probably remain to be as you arrested clergy, judges, students, community leaders, and disabled veterans, oh, and probably kids too, because I wasn't paying attention. We see you. Your time is running out, though. It's really funny to me to fathom that the hundreds upon hundreds of men and women in riot gear yesterday and the motherfuckers who lead them couldn't stop to ponder this one very important point. What reason do we have to be peaceful when you hunt us when we are? That's right. What reason have you given us to stay quiet when the only time you hear us is when I'm screaming the word fuck in your ear? And all you did was remind all of us that there might not be a reason for us to just sit here and take it anymore, because God knows we've been doing it for so long. You probably still don't hear me, though, and that's okay. I don't need you to hear me. Just know that we see you, and now you see us too. You will remember his name. The name of the man that you spent a year building a case against. A case that helped you assassinate his character in order for you to justify assassinating him. His name is Stephon Clark, and I promise you, you will not forget. The hat that I wear today says Sacramento versus everybody, and it says it for a reason. This is Sacramento. You're everybody. You're with us or you're against us. Stephon Clark was his name. Don't look at me. Stephon Clark was his name.
I'm not gonna look
Say
at
it.
you.
Say it.
Time is up, ma'am. Thank you. Next. Your time is up. Next. Oh, too bad. Go ahead. Enough. Enough. Next.
They're Mark
Next.
or Marie Godges.
Eric, you want to take over for me for a minute?
Shut up! You want to shush me? Take my fucking time. These meetings aren't about you. Bye. You want to take my time?
There is Marie or Mark Godges. Last name is Godges, UC Davis.
Marie Godges.
Let me remind y'all that 80% of y'all are white. And it's our job as white people not to tone police people of color, but to listen to them. When they tell us they're being killed, it's not our job to ask them, why are you complaining that you're being killed? It's our job to stop killing them. Period. End of story. And the biggest problem here is the fact that people won't listen. The fact that there are empty seats and there are people outside in the rain. The fact that the one time you had to finally listen to your community, you guys left. You left. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that when people stand up here fighting for their lives, that Darrell Steinberg leaves and you leave, but the fact that I'm here as a white guy means that you'll stay in your seat. That's embarrassing. Please do better. Do better. They have 5 demands they've listed for hours. I don't need to say them again. Fire him. Fire him. Fire him. Recall the DA. Recall the DA. Right? Recall the sheriff. Release the charges on the protesters. And stop over-policing communities, and stop killing people. Poverty is violence. Stop the housing disparity. Stop the education disparity. Stop the food disparity. Stop hurting other human beings because they have a different skin color and because you're comfortable in your status. Stop. It's shameful. I don't know what to say, man. Like, the fact that when I'm at a protest last night, that I have to stand there and know that the police won't kill me, but they could kill 3 of my friends? That's a shame. That means there's something wrong with the heart of this country. That means there's something wrong with the soul of this country and the soul of most white people in this country who won't stand up. Period. I'm done.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, clerk, please call the next speaker. There are no more speaker cards. I see no members punched up to speak. So at this point, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everyone. We're adjourned at, what time is it? 8:40.
My name.
No, we're at a speaker slip, so we're going to adjourn at 8:42.
It's already in. My name, I got it. My name is Khalil Ferguson. I was one of the 13 black students who shut down Arden Mall. I was one of the 30 black students who were arrested last night. MLK was arrested over 60 times during the civil rights movement. Although it was my first time, it will not be the last. While I was detained sitting on the side of that overpass, I love my history. So guess what I did? I asked show officers if they knew the history of the contentions between the black community and the police, stemming from our emancipation. Before our emancipation, the slave catchers, the slave patrol, up until the Fugitive Slave Act. Guess what? None of them knew that. None of them knew that. However, as I went down the timeline, up until the 1920s and the Ku Klux Klan and the peak of the Ku Klux Klan, up until the 1960s, when Eugene Bull Connors used water hoses and police dogs, he used water hoses and police dogs on peaceful civil rights demonstrators. But guess what your officer said to me? This is going to be fucked up. They said, but were you alive during that time? It don't matter. But guess what? One of them was Asian in front of me. So I said, what ethnicity are you? Because guess what? Which one are you? Japanese internment camp? Right. Or Chinese Exclusion Act? That's your grandma. That's your bloodline. Don't sit here and tell me that it does not matter to me because I didn't go through what my grandparents went through. Councilman Rick Jennings, we had a discussion the other day. You said what we need to do is more black officers in the community. However, must I remind you that this whole institution of policing was built on fundamentally racism, white supremacy. Why are we needing implicit bias? Why are we needing more black officers? When the whole damn system of policing has placed a chokehold on the black community for centuries. Why are we continuing this implicit bias as cosmetic change? We need a complete reconstruction of this legal, political, judiciary, and policing system.
Thank you.
I'm a man of my history. You don't want to try me on life. We need some reconstructive change, all right?
So those are all the speakers. Any members, hold on. Any member, council, does any member of the council, we want to pick this up next time. We listened to people tonight for almost 4 hours, and
is there a possibility?
Excuse me, no, ma'am. I need to say something now.
Hold on, please.
Ma'am,
I checked with France.
Ma'am,
Go ahead.
ma'am, no. I want to say.
3 minutes. I got a whole. You guys have never allowed me to speak.
No,
and
ma'am.
I wrote it out.
No, ma'am.
I was out till 4 picking up kids out there on the side of the road when no one else would help. I'm asking for 3 minutes, and I have it written out.
Go ahead.
I appreciate it. I kindly do.
3 minutes.
Steinberg, thank you for making sure I didn't go to jail. You got to try to do better at sticking at your word. I have followed up multiple times with your office, back to 2017 when Nick Wilson was in office. After you've promised multiple times to meet with me, this goes for Howard Chan, Susanna, Kelly Revis, Amy, and any other navigators per Howard Chan in regards to a 1368 incompetency that he wanted to fly over my head. Just to let you know, that'll be dismissed April the 9th. Thank you kindly, Howard Chan. As the inner city youth growing, there was shootings and killings happening every day in the Sunnydale projects. You know where that is, Steinberg. To my fiance being shot dead at 22 years old while coaching a basketball game with our 5- and 6-year-old present. Riot gear last night, but no sufficient reason Stephon was shot in his back. I am more afraid of the police and no knowledge of ACEs right along with my daughters. By the way, Rick Jennings, my girls called you a straight liar and said you hurt them because they wanted to believe in you. ACEs versus post-traumatic slave syndrome, which is really more important. I see one of them as the then and one as the now, which unfortunately, not one officer or trained official in Sacramento city or county position is trained in this. I must say I'm thrilled to see Dr. Nadine Burke Harris as the new California Surgeon General. She lives by adverse childhood experiences. This causes more mental health issues due to the police not understanding de-escalation tactics versus use of force. I present today to Sacramento in regards to Measure U, which should include everyone. It should be afforded in every area that is needed. Angelique Ashby, I've attempted to meet with you on several occasions. However, to no avail, I've heard nothing from you. Not too surprised, ma'am. My first community program was Girls and Boys Against Gangs. You wouldn't know about that coming from where you come from. My grandmother owning a business in San Francisco and being one of the only 2 blacks on the block allowed me to see the best of both worlds. I was taught it's not where you live, it's how you live. Let's help the children in Sacramento feel confident and ready for the real world. Let's give incentives to encourage them. Let's show them to open bank accounts, grant writing, hard to solve issues like mine with the school district. Although I get discouraged, we are faced with 100,000 children. We are faced with 100,000 children living in poverty in one of the 3 poorest cities in the 58 counties of the state of California.
You asked for 3 minutes. I gave you 3 minutes.
I'm on my last sentence, sir. Can I finish?
Yes.
I know California having the 4th largest economy in the world, no one should feel left out. I'm more than willing to help these kids. I've had to learn the 13th, 14th, and 15th
that was more than one sentence.
Only in Sacramento.
Okay.
Every person I speak to has had trouble in school.
Ma'am.
We are not excelling. We
You're
are
done,
regressing.
lady.
Thank you.
Go home.
We are adjourned.
You're done. You're done. Go home. All right, well, that's pretty much the end of that, I guess. Maybe it was one sentence, one of them run-on sentences, real long ones. Man, well, guys, that's pretty much it, I guess. So, don't look like much else is going to go on, so at least we caught all this. I don't know if they're going to riot or march or what. They might. We'll see here. If I can find a feed for it, because this feed will stop. Well, guys, think I'm going to go ahead and call it here anyway. It's almost midnight, and I'm tired. And this feed's dead anyway. This was a local news feed. I'll check, see what's going on, but I don't see much. But, well, guys, I've been up since 4 a.m., and it's midnight now. I'm wiped. So, I tried to have a little bit of fun, you know. I'm not going to make light of every single situation. There's some of these police deals that are uncalled for or whatever. It does happen. This wasn't one of them. If you take every little thing in life dead serious, you'll go nuts. You just got to go with it. Whatever. Got to have a little bit of fun. Take it easy, guys. Stay safe. Stay out of the hood. And I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.